Some may say he's a victim of pew-pew violence, but I might call him a victim of funk around and find out because you were cheating on your girlfriend and you're a deadbeat dad too. And your mom tried to unalive her. Like, what? There's so much craziness to this story. And the fact that they're focusing on her, who a lot of women are like, yeah, and raising money for her to help her get out. Because we don't really feel bad for him. We feel bad for her. I know they're trying to spin it as the OnlyFans motto. No. Let me just go into the stuff that I found. But also, one of the other points I'm going to make in this video, among many, and also as a journalist, I hate the way that so many articles are framed. And also, the writers of articles do not get to, we don't write our headlines. Those are the editors and the people higher up. So if you ever go after somebody, someone who writes a story, it is not them who are writing these headlines, but the headlines say everything. They frame the whole thing. That's all. That is why, he is just, this poor victim, oh my God. Rather than, it's more complicated than that. But I also want to talk about how men's friendships with other men is y'all are the worst friends. You're not only the worst friends to us, and not our friend, because I have male friends. But as somebody who lived in mostly male spaces as a tomboy and worked in the outdoor industry, the film industry, comedy, and all that crap, let me tell you something. Men make terrible friends, and they don't call each other their stuff. And his coworkers didn't think there was anything weird about him, cheating on his girlfriend to go hang out with some girl he met online at an Airbnb. They're like, bye, have fun. I'm going to show you some quotes in a minute, but this story is also a perfect example of how a man can, try to rob a woman's soul from her, right? Because grape is theft. You are stealing our bodies, and you cause so much unhealed trauma. It takes us so much money, time to heal from the trauma of when men do this to us. And a lot of times we end up taking our own lives, but they not only aren't guilty of the grape or anything around it, they also aren't any of the consequences. But this story is a perfect example of most of the women. I don't have the stats right now, somewhere in my photos, of a large majority of the women in prison are because of what men have done to them. They are there because they unalived men in self-defense. They are there because of trespassing or theft or a bunch of stuff that were results of them being put out on the street to survive men because of what men have done to them. A lot of them are survivors of incest and other horrific sexual crimes and abuse, just physical abuse in addition to sexual and emotional, financial, and all the other kinds of abuse. And most of the women in prison are a result of surviving patriarchy and the violence of men. And this woman is now going to jail for at least 20 years, I think, whereas she didn't have enough evidence for him to have any consequences. And then his dad, who drove his mother to go try to unalive her and actually shot the wrong person, a totally innocent woman who was answering the door, his dad got the smallest sentence. He's already out. So I think that one of the things that women are going to need to do more of is raise money for incarcerated women. But we also know that women who are incarcerated are predominantly Black women and women of color, Black and brown women, because of systemic racism and the racism of the cops and police brutality and all of this stuff, right? And we need to start putting money, because there's going to be more women who are going to have to go to drastic measures to survive men, because they are more and more unhinged, more and more entitled, more and more violent. And they're pitching and they're hissy fit because we are tired of effing with them, so they're maybe use more force for a while during this extinction burst. And so, you know what? We may have to retaliate. And our grandmas and great-grandmas and those women were unaliving their husbands through poison and sneaky ways. So go ahead, keep passing these laws, and we will keep poisoning y'all, right? It's win-win when you don't trap us with babies, and when you don't take away things like no-fault divorces, which is next on your agenda. Because if you force us to stay with you, we're going to be more ruthless than our grandmas were, who were mostly hostages, by the way, because we've had the taste of the freedom and we aren't going back. So, I don't know. I kind of love this story. I don't really like the death of anybody. I would love for this person to have, rehabilitated somehow, whatever, but I'm also so tired of women just dying constantly at the hands of men or at the hands of themselves as a result of men's actions on them and the violence towards them. I don't know. We're in a new territory now. And all the news stories are like, oh, look at this. He's, just a little musician. He's just a happy musician. His little skinny jeans and his guitar. And these are the photos of her. I'm covering her because I'm pretty sure I'll get a content violation if I show you the photos that the Daily Mail, this one is the Mirror or the New York Post, one of the other ones that are owned by awful people. This is another one. I think I'll get in trouble for showing this thing she's holding. This one? Oh, yeah. They love doing this. Oh, she sounds like an unhinged, schmegs worker. I don't know. I'm kind of liking this vibe, to be honest. Now, this is the photo that you've been seeing all over the internet. I've only seen one like this. This is a choice. All the other photos, that's a choice. They could have used this photo. Or a lot of other photos. They chose to use OnlyFans type photos. And then this just, sweet innocent guy. Just like all the school pew-pewers. Just lost, he was just doing his thing and then these crazy measures. I mean, he's in the National Pew-Pew Violence Memorial. I mean, and I get it. But where is the Grape Memorial, Insurance Memorial? Like, they don't do this for us, do they? I don't know. They don't memorialize all the dead bodies, all of the graped bodies that these men leave in their path. This is all allegedly, though. Maybe he's innocent. Maybe she's crazy. They also knew each other from high school. I've only seen that in one article. But let's go backwards a little bit. Let's go back. I found this in the Daily Beast article from December 2021 because I'm not seeing this written in most of the updated articles. And I think that's a little funny. I do like the title of, by the way, I've written for the Daily Beast, 10 or 11 articles. They were bought out, so they're a little bit different now, but I really loved writing for this publication. If you want to see some of my best work ever, go to the Daily Beast. Talk about going to schmegs clubs. I do reported stories. Some of my favorite work is in the Daily Beast. But look at this headline. He spent the night with a married woman and wound up dead in National Park. Yeah. So the way they could fix this is he cheated on his girlfriend with a married woman and ended up dead. See, now this is before they found out more about the case and what all was behind it. And also before his mommy tried to unalive her, but and then accidentally, shot the wrong person and dressed up as a UPS worker. Anyway, more on that in a second. This is the first time I heard anything about him being a dad. So Chelsea Perkins spent the night in an Airbnb with a 31-year-old father of two. I don't really like the tone of this piece, but it's also written by a man, so not surprised. And also, there's no evidence that she actually got a tattoo. She just went to the tattoo place. Maybe she knew people there. Who knows? But so many of these publications just went with that little detail and ran with it. So his body was found near a haunted cemetery. Something very poetic about that. And they interviewed his friends. And this is where I want to make my point about how awful male friends are. Y'all don't even know each other. I swear to God, y'all don't know anything about each other. And one reason is because you never call each other on a shit. I'm like, oh, why are you leaving right now to go hook up with a woman you don't know while your girlfriend is at home? No, they're like, yeah, you do you, bro. Or they congratulate them. But they never actually say, maybe that's not a great idea. Bro, what are you doing? Look at the way he's like, I think about a week prior to all this, Matthew was so excited because he was trying to stop drinking. Okay, maybe he had a drinking problem. A former coworker of his said. He was really proud of himself. He was turning his life around. I remember he made a comment about having his whole life ahead of him. And then, yeah, Brock Turner had his whole life ahead of him too. And then he got to keep going. What is he proud of? He was trying to stop drinking, but clearly did not stop drinking. So he's proud of himself for what? Cheating? What is he doing? This is so weird. By turning your life around, that means like what? abandoning your children and continuing to just do you, trying to be a musician. Y'all, musicians are the worst, by the way. Anyway, so on March 5th, 2021, 4 days before his body was found, he was at the local bar, the Tiki Underground, really working on himself with a group of colleagues from where he worked, whatever. He's an avid guitarist, by the way. He told his supervisor that he was playing. Who tells your supervisor that you're going to go cheat? God. Yeah, supervisor's not mentoring this dude either. Y'all are just terrible. No wonder you're all lost. You don't know what you're doing, and you don't call each other out, and you don't tell each other anything that's hard to hear other than bullying each other, making fun of each other when it comes to truth that could actually set you free from this misogynistic hellhole that you're in. Nope. Mum's the word. Go have fun. Bye. Told Super he's planning to meet a woman from out of town. Doesn't seem like there's any pushback from anybody. Maybe there was, but I'm not hearing any. At around 6 p.m., he got a text. She's here, he announced to his coworkers, and walked out of the tiki with his supervisor. Supervisor's like, here, let me send you off, son. Go have a great time cheating. Have fun. The supervisor watched him get in. He didn't give his name. Smart man, at least in that regard. To get in a, this car with a brown-haired woman behind the wheel. The details of the story are very interesting. There's a Coast Guard sticker on the car, along with a Bajas sticker. I don't know what that means. And one that says, Virginia is for lovers. Oh my God, I love that she picked him up in a car that says Virginia is for lovers. Oh, this woman's iconic. Oh, I officially do not condone unaliving anybody, just in case somebody is watching. So they went to an Airbnb nearby that she booked with her credit card under her own name. That wasn't so smart. They had video surveillance of the two. They go into a gas station where he bought cigarettes and bought a bottle of Aquafina water. Was this sponsored by Aquafina? Why do we need that detail? At roughly 8 p.m., the two stopped at a nearby sandwich shop. Y'all, I am getting what is that movie? I want to say Pretty Woman, but that's not it. The woman who wrote it, who was in The Crown, about the woman who goes out and pretends to be drunk. And then she's like, just kidding. But then she never actually harmed the dudes, really. This seems like a real life version of that. It sounds to me, because, she accused him of graping her. And then they also went to high school together, which I've only seen one publication say, and it'll come up in one of my pictures later. That so they had a relationship somehow, right? He graped her, allegedly, according to her. And then, she's probably like, hey, you know what? I'm over it. Let's hang out. Let's go meet up at it. And he's like, dirt-to-do, yeah. Father of two. 31-year-old father of two. It's like, yeah, I'll go stay at a random place with a woman from out of town who accused me of graping her. God, this is not stupidity. This is their arrogance is what gets them killed. It's their arrogance, their entitlement, their arrogance, and them just thinking yeah, of course. Yeah, of course she's, what if she's over that? So she treats him they go and grab sandwiches. Then they head back to the Airbnb. Then they spent the night together. Then the following day, she contacted someone at a tattoo place making a stop first. Here's the interesting part. This whole paragraph. On the morning of March 6th, he texted his girlfriend, identified as AW, that he had just woke up, was going to donate plasma, and would come back to their apartment. Oh! Okay, so girlfriend that he's living with, okay? So their apartment. So not only is he dating someone, he is living with her. But again, just decided to go spend the night somewhere else. He asked AW not to be upset and said that he did not sleep with her. At approximately 8:30 a.m., he texted her again and said that he was guessing that she did not miss him and was mad at him last night. He said further, well, I pissed the chick off anyway, so I hope you're happy. This This paragraph tells me everything I need to know about this man. I hope you're happy. Did you even miss me while I was cheating on you? Like, I don't know. I don't know the whole story. Maybe they got in a fight. Maybe they temporarily broke up. I don't know. But none of his friends seem to know about it. But whatever, men don't tell each other anything other than bragging about awful stuff they're doing. But just the way he phrases this, I pissed the chick off. The chick being the woman who accused him of graping her years ago and couldn't press charges because the FBI said there wasn't enough evidence. I pissed off this dumb bitch. I hope you're happy. And this makes it sound like the only reason that they may not have had schmegs is because he pissed her off. Oh, did you try to grape her again? What happened here? My guess is that she just took her sweet time playing with this guy. You know, picked him up, let him think that it was all good. She probably didn't sleep with him. She probably teased him and then was like, no, whatever. I don't know. This is I'm so fascinated by this story, y'all. I'm not somebody who usually goes for revenge. I just kind of whatever. I move on and I focus on myself. But I do love a good revenge story every once in a while. But just to point out, I have not heard this in any of the other articles that are coming out, right? None of this. It's all OnlyFans model who was a Coast Guard, who was married, as if she's cheating. I wouldn't be surprised if her husband totally knew what she was doing. And even if he didn't, sounds like she was trying to get justice. That's my opinion. Especially because his mother tried to kill her. Not only what he allegedly did, but his mother tried to take her life. More on that in a second. Hold on. So the next morning, his phone was used to search for the location of the Terra Vista Natural Study Area, the scenic butterfly habitat. Oh my God. I could just imagine her just being like, do you want to go see some a cool butterfly thing? And he was like, yeah. Probably thinking maybe I have one more chance to get her and give me a booty. Right? And then he goes there and she's just one shot too. They arrived at 9:45 and approximately 45 minutes later, he texted his girlfriend, okay, see you in a little while. He's texting his girlfriend while he's trying to hook up with this woman, I guess. I don't know. God. And then shortly after that, people heard gunshot. Eventually, she's arrived at a Detroit tattoo parlor called Family Inc. But all the employees there are they don't remember her being there. Good for them. And he's the one guy's I don't know anything about it, man. I love it. So then a group of hikers found his body with his ID card and that, look at that. He had his plastic aquafina. He had that bottle of water still. Yeah, I do appreciate that he remains hydrated. That's very important to me. But anyway, he's wearing black fingerless gloves, black leather jacket, black hoodie, black jeans, black boots. I wonder if he got to smoke one last of those cigarettes. I know I sound cold, but I swear to God, the way that men talk about us online and the horrific things they say, and I'm just talking about a woman who took justice in her own hands. I do find it a little heartwarming, kind of funny, really tragic because she will be in prison now. And I tend to side with women who come forward to the police because that act, and I've done it before myself and had to recant. I had to say, never mind, I lied, because they were going to go talk to him and do all this stuff that put me in danger. So I said, never mind, I recant. So I guess I lied. But if a woman is going all the way and reporting this to the police, unless, it's for racism reasons, which white women have done historically to terrorize the black community. But in general, I tend to believe women. Look at these details. Her DNA was found on his pubic hair and under his fingernail. But, he was complaining about how he pissed her off. So I don't know. I am so curious what happened during this. I just imagine her maybe she played hard to get and was yes, no, or whatever. I imagine her with that pew just being should I, shouldn't I? and kind of torturing him for a while. And him thinking it's all good, and then her, And then read one of his other coworkers' testimonies before we move on to the mom part. One of his former coworkers said, the dude's kids were back in Virginia, and then he had moved to Ohio to better his life. Oh, the alleged rapist moved to Ohio and abandoned his kids to better his life. Great. Sounds like a stand-up kind of dude. He always seemed so happy and just made my day. I'm pretty picky about the people I become friends with, and he was one of those people I felt like I could really connect with. The night that it happened, my coworkers and he were at the Tiki Lounge. I'm kicking myself. Okay, y'all, complete this sentence in your head right now. Type what you would say for fun. Because I promise you, when I was like, oh, I'm kicking myself now, the first thing I thought that I would do if I was this person's friend would be like, hey, man, maybe you shouldn't get in that car. Do you know this person? You know, like, what's happening? What about your girlfriend? I thought he was going to say, I would have convinced him not to go. Like, what did you put? Because he says, because I ended up not going. I wish I was there. It would have been the last time I could have spent time with him. I wanted to have one more beer with my boy who's trying to not drink anymore. I wanted to spend time with him before I, too, waved him goodbye. Have fun cheating on your girlfriend. Deadbeat. God, do you see what I mean? This is why it doesn't matter if men have friends or not. Do they have men in their life who will hold them accountable? Because I swear, cishet men do not. It's not just cishet men, but in general, those men are so homophobic and so misogynistic and so bought into grape culture. They will do anything to protect that power, even deny themselves intimate relationships with other men who they might look up to or learn from and be inspired by, and be accountable to. No. They all just cheer each other on as they go grape other people, abandon their kids, and they go hang out at a tiki lounge and chuckle jar. But, he's glad this person who did it got caught. Are you sad that the person who graped her didn't get caught? Doubt it. So this is his obituary, and it confirms in his obituary. He's survived by 2 children, Caleb and Adriana. Now, at the time, he was survived by his mother, but now we're going to get into what she did. By the way, remember, those men that he was telling him he's going to go meet a girl he met online. Not a woman who had accused him of grape that he knew from high school. No, a girl online. I'm telling you, they lie to us, they lie to each other, they lie. Oh, I also forgot to mention the plasma part. Let me tell you something. As somebody who was struggling to pay bills for a really long time when I was living in New York, I was doing the most random jobs off of Craigslist to pay rent. And this is one of the things I considered doing, is donating plasma. And the only reason I did it is because one of my friends who had done it was like, oh, this stuff is super painful. It is not worth the money. I thought about doing all kinds of like really weird things. I was part of an experiment for people with asthma, even though I didn't have asthma. They were like, it's okay. I almost let them perform a surgery on me for $200. Y'all, I have so many stories, my Craigslist adventures trying to make money. So this to me says this is a guy who's probably not paying child support. I don't know. I'm guessing if you move for a better life. Why did he leave? Why did he leave the state? Is it to avoid having to pay child? I don't know much about that. Anyone who knows about child custody? Is it a lot harder to get it from them when they leave the state? Because I'm kind of wondering. But my guess is that he is, probably he's drinking. He's probably doing all kinds of escapist, addictive stuff that men do a lot because they won't deal with themselves or their past or anything that could actually help them. They just keep committing more and more harm, more crime even. I also want to point out that every single article that I read, other than the Daily Beast one, which basically said it very clearly without saying it, is that this man was cheating. They all just mentioned that he said something to a girlfriend. But sometimes people don't draw those connections. And then they frame it as like this crazy OnlyFans model, like shot him in the head. I also want to point out that when they mention, I'm leading up to the mom, I promise. When they mention facts, she had a short stint in the Coast Guard. I wonder why it was short. I'm curious. Because a lot of women in the armed forces end up leaving because those men are graping those women so much. The grape problem in the armed forces is so bad that basically most women know going in, maybe they don't know going into it, but by the time they get out, if they haven't been graped by one of their colleagues, fellow service members, then they should consider themselves lucky because it's so prevalent. And I actually interviewed Daniela Messinek. I forgot her name, the knitting cult lady, on one of my lives last summer. Go join my Patreon, by the way, if you want to see my lives. I have a watch party on Sunday. I have travel content going to the U.S. for a month, and I'll be doing most of my stuff on Patreon around that trip. Anyway, her book talks about that. Uncultured. It is a big problem. So if she had a short stint in the Coast Guard, I don't know. My guess is that it probably wasn't because she's a quitter or whatever, and that she just really wanted to become an OnlyFans model. Although maybe she did. That's sometimes the only way women can pay their bills these days. And under capitalism in this system, we are all schmegs workers on some level. So if you're a swerve for a turf, just here's your warning. Don't type that in my comments. Keep it to yourself. But yeah, so she goes to OnlyFans. Well, that sounds like that may have been a survival mechanism to pay the bills when, but whatever. But they mention Sabrina Savage. She's an OnlyFans model. They can't seem to mention the grape allegations without, in the same paragraph, mention she's an OnlyFans model. That is a choice to put those things together. So that if you have any sympathy or want to believe this story at all, even if you do believe her, well, she deserved it. What do you expect when you're a schmegs worker? That's why they do this. Here's the twist. November 2021, his parents, upset that Perkins had not yet been arrested, took matters into their own hands. His mother, Tommie Lynn, and father, John Nelson, drove to Washington, D.C. with plans to unalive her. So she dressed up like a UPS worker. Let me go into more detail on that here. Another article. So the dad and his longtime partner, okay, so I guess they're not married, just long time living together, whatever, which is fine. But if you're going to live with a man and have his children, at least get some protection legally. And then you end up having a son like this who probably wasn't paying child support, whatever. Anyway, she began to conduct her own investigation. On November 5th, they traveled by car from Norfolk to Northeast Washington. She had mistakenly identified the victim as responsible for her son's unaliving. In fact, this victim, as a 30-year-old woman, was not involved in any way. Surveillance shows that she was wearing a brown vest, a brown baseball cap, and carrying a cardboard box, knocking on the front door of the victim's home and approximately at going to her home at 9:25 p.m. Okay. When she announced herself as a UPS delivery person, stating she had a package for the victim. When the victim opened the door, she fired 2 shots from a silver revolver that she was holding inside an empty opening cut in the back of the box. God. So very premeditated. Drove a long distance, got the clothes, the outfit, cut a hole in the box. Premeditated. Okay, this is this man's mother. So then when she got the job done, her and, her partner or the dad, they left. They changed license plates to try to get away with it, but of course they get caught. MPD officers stopped the vehicle soon thereafter. During the stop, she shot herself using the revolver that she'd used on the victim, and she later died. So she shoots herself in front of her partner and this person who pulls her over. Luckily, the victim survived her injuries. Just because she survived doesn't mean that she's not permanently disabled or, permanently traumatized. Look at this butterfly effect from this man allegedly graping a woman. The father, who pleaded guilty to accessory after the fact to assault with intent to unalive, he received a 3-year sentence. 3 years. He was he didn't pull the trigger, but he was a part of this whole thing, premeditated thing. 3 years. Compare that to what Perkins is getting. She rejected the plea between 27 years and 31 years. Good for her. Well, the dad was released in March. And just like I said, according to the court documents, they knew each other before the healing and were in high school together from 2005 to 2009. But you'd never know that reading a lot of these articles. Oh, this OnlyFans woman, Coast Guard, got a tattoo after doing this crazy thing. There's so much more to this story. But all I do know is that most of those women sitting in prison right now, it is because of systemic issues, systemic racism, especially anti-blackness. And it is also mostly because of men and their violence. And now there's another woman there. So you know what? There's ways that you can, support organizations that support women who are, going to court for crimes against defending themselves or whatever. I mean, she was clearly not defending herself, but still, there's zero consequences for graping women for the most part. None. And as much as I don't really like the carceral system and I don't like, at the same time, men are just doing whatever they want. And then every time a woman does anything to a man, they got to do something like this in the media. So I would love to know what Chelsea Perkins' story is. She's not getting to write it herself. But when you read stories like this, please try to read between the lines and do a little bit more research, because this guy, well, there's a lot more to his story. There's a lot more to her story, but a lot of the stuff that they're leaving out is really bad stuff about this dude. But he's just another deadbeat dad living his best life, trying to make a good life for himself and hanging out at a tiki lounge with his buddies, cheating on his girlfriend after abandoning his kids and getting away with, allegedly, anyway, let me know what y'all think. And if you can afford it, please join my Patreon. That is literally what's paying all my bills at this point. Thank you, Patreon people, for everything, especially during these exams, these French exams where I really couldn't work. Y'all helped me take some time off to study for this thing. And I don't know, it'll be like 6 weeks before I find out, by the way, y'all. For people who are like, how'd you do? I don't know. Terrible, but maybe I passed, but I'm already going to take it again. Anyway, let me know if you heard the comment song. Fork around and I guess you're going to find out. I guess you can't go around graping whoever you want with no consequence. But I don't know, he's just a poor little white boy with his skinny jeans and his buttons. Oh, poor guy. I guess she's just an OnlyFans model and he's a talented musician who has his whole life ahead of him. What a nice guy. Oh, what a nice guy. Oh, victim of gun, pew pew. But what about her? Oh, who cares? He's just an emo guy who's dead now, abandoned his kids. And his mom tried to unalive a random girl with his dad. But I don't know, somehow, let's blame the OnlyFans model instead of mom and dad and the rapist anyway. And her tattoos and an attitude on OnlyFans with the poor white boy, while the promiscuous woman who just loves pew-pews. Oh my goodness, baby, show some respect to this veteran who probably had a worse life than any of us and wanted some justice.